All right. Jinxing.
You owe me a Coke.
Yeah. And not in the, we say the same word at the same time, or whatever, but jinxing things.
Oh, you mean I've spoke truth to reality, and therefore I've made things bad for me potentially.
I especially see the sensitivity to this idea of words have magic when you're talking about the big game.
Yeah,
when you're talking about
sports superstition.
Yeah, an important game, particularly here watching it, live, real time, and some idiot goes, "Well, hope he doesn't miss this free throw," and
don't jinx it.
Yeah, I mean the scowl you get, the looks, and some people downright like
they get mad about it. Yeah,
and that the parallel here is the other person. I'm wearing the same underwear I wore last week when we won. I'm going to sit in the same spot and do all the.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing it just because it saves on laundry.
That's right. But for me, for jinxing though, it's the weirdest thing that I find people get pretty sensitive about. Again, particularly with sports, I see it. But other things.
I've seen this play out with my mom. She has this idea that whenever we leave, she lives about 45 minutes from where we live. Whenever we leave, she's always got to say, "Love you, drive safe." Mm-hmm. And that's got to be her send-off. She's got, that's got to be the last thing she says, and it's almost compulsive.
Yeah.
And I've picked up on that over the years, and I've started to sort of toy with the notion. I'm like, I won't. I'm going to text while I drive. I had too much wine. I'm already drunk. I am not safe at all. Somebody should call me an Uber. Because the chances I'm going to die on the highway are not contingent on her saying that as the last thing to me.
Yep.
But she still has to say it, and she'll say, "Okay, but drive safe." Mm-hmm. She's got to just put that little bow on it at the end, and it's the drive safe jinx.
Yep. Okay. Well, so I've come up with a hack of sorts that I've tried to play out occasionally. Usually, it doesn't get a laugh or interest, but okay, you say something. I really hope he doesn't miss this free throw. And then, they look at you like, "Come on, man, you can't
don't jinx him, Eric. How dare you?"
Then you say, "Well, hang on, I'm not done. The words I'm gonna say. I sure hope I don't win the lottery tomorrow." So now what I've done is I've coupled the event that we want them not to miss, right, with something good happening. So now, if he misses that free throw,
and you didn't win the lottery, then you've negated the jinx.
I've shown you that my words don't have the power. Or he does miss it, and I win the lottery, and now we're going to Vegas.
Nice. There's one other point I think that's worth exploring here, and that's praying for your team. And I've heard people praying, "Oh yeah, I hope UK wins this year.
Yeah.
I hope whatever." And I just want you guys to know, everybody on the podcast, God doesn't watch basketball. He only watches hockey. You are listening to The Soapbox. I'm Paul.
And I'm Eric.
This all started out with a list. What's that all about?
So I've compiled a list over the years of things that just bother me, things that grind my gears. And I shared that list with you.
And I thought, you know what? That would make interesting conversation. Sometimes I'm going to want to agree with you, and it's just going to be something we talk about. Other times, though, I'm going to want to steel man the opposite position because I think that's just interesting conversation.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I'm always right, but Paul's just a really good debater.
Hey! Our previous conversation was great, and our previous setup took so long we didn't want to waste it. But we're back with Andrew Hill, who I don't think actually got named before.
No. We just went with horse. And
that's fair because you didn't get named in my life or Eric's until way later.
That's right.
This just kind of fits.
Yeah. So it's like the director is making us feel the same pain that we went through.
It's beautiful. It's poetic.
Yeah.
So you have a couple of jobs.
Yes.
We're coworkers in a sense. We all work for a big university. I don't care about that one. Maybe I do. I don't know.
Okay.
But I want to talk about the other one, the Tipsy Cow.
Yes.
What's that? What are you doing there?
So shout out to first of all, the Tipsy Cow Bar in Georgetown, Kentucky. When you come through, catch a live show, drink a couple beers, eat some food.
Ask for the SoapBox discount.
Ask for the SoapBox discount, and they will probably ask you if you're on something. But it's a bar that I used to own. But I now, because of that opportunity, I got into doing live sound.
And is that
live
also
production.
called Tipsy Cow?
That is, yes. We branched off about a year and a half ago, my wife and I, and we now own a production company called Tipsy Cow Productions, where we do live production for small festivals, municipal festivals. We do. We work with. There are a few bands around the central Kentucky area that we work with. Kind of the that's the side hustle that I really like. It's the one that the regular day job kind of affords me it gives me the funding to do the stuff that I like to do, right? So
absolutely. Now you're also a musician. So I'm the only person sitting on this long L-shaped couch here who is not qualified to talk about music in any meaningful way.
Everybody's qualified to talk about music if you just listen to music one time in your life.
Okay, I don't make it. I don't make it well. I'm karaoke at best.
I mean, it doesn't mean that your opinions are good. It's just that you can have opinions on music.
They can be wrong, too.
Yeah.
But you and Eric, you guys play together, yeah?
We have been... Greenie, how many bands have we been in?
Arizona Bay.
Yeah.
Arizona Trey.
Yeah.
Arizona Gay. Oh, wait.
Oh.
that was one drunk night.
That was
just
one time.
Just the two of you.
Yeah, that video's been burned.
We did Lost Dogs, Pearl Jam tribute.
Yeah.
Arizona Bay, for people who don't know, Tool tribute, right?
Yeah. And then Arizona
right.
Trey was a weird offshoot where our drummer couldn't help out, but our buddy Trey needed a backup band to play his country stuff.
Trey Earnhardt, a country musician from here in Kentucky. Yeah. I guess we can name him, right?
No, and I think he's got...
You said Earnhardt, and he does country. That fits so well.
Yeah.
Hail Dale.
Yeah. He's huge in Belgium.
And honestly, one of his greatest songs, and the premise for the song is great, is Redneck Romeo.
Oh, yeah.
And it is, I mean...
I don't know the premise, but I'm going to guess it's a love song to his sister.
No.
I'm sorry, I don't know you.
Sorry,
You're probably
Trey.
a great guy.
We are not cutting that.
Yeah, leave that in for sure.
Anyway, so yeah, we got to play, and then I got to play drums on it, and which was fun, for better or worse. But then Lost Dogs, we did Pearl Jam's tribute.
Yes.
And
you played drums on that too.
I played the drums on that, and you sang
like a wheelbarrow full of tennis balls being dropped from above the drum kit.
Well, and then Paul Ross Media Production.
I
whatever
don't do that anymore, okay. But yeah, I
but
used
that
to.
Was you recorded us video and audio, and we've got some great tracks on YouTube from that show. I think. But was that? Oh, we did Louder Than Larry too.
Louder Than Larry, the '90s tribute.
Yeah.
So with all of your music that you guys have done together and your sound production, in that vein, what grinds your gears?
In that vein, I could get myself into a lot of trouble if I told you all the things that there are too many people out there that think if you just buy a mixer and a couple microphones that you're a sound guy all of a sudden, which it takes a little bit more than that.
So you're telling me I'm not a drummer because I play Guitar Hero?
Well, okay, that's a good segue because we were talking before this about. I'll segue into video games. How about that?
Okay.
Because because I don't want to. You got to be careful with the sound community.
Don't bite the hand that feeds.
We'll just leave it at that. You all did the episode on video games and what the biggest problem in gaming was, and you had
Joe Crabtree,
who was excellent, and it's not often that you can hear from somebody who's been playing video games like from when video games almost started.
Yeah, that was video.
Yeah,
he computer games.
Yeah, he was like they're computer games back then.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I heard what he was saying about if you want to dig into the nerdy aspects of like, matchmaking and whether whether you're getting paired up with somebody who's just going to absolutely scorch you in Call of Duty or Fortnite or whatever. And I understand that that's a problem. I'll tell you what the biggest problem today in the video game industry is, though. It's this concept of publishing a AAA title, like a $60, $70 title that is essentially in beta form.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
That happens. It seems like there's a major title that comes out just about every year that is in almost beta form. Everybody loses their shit, and on the merits of that release can sometimes sink a title with a lot of potential
because it doesn't perform well.
Because it doesn't perform well. There's a game that I play that I actually have been playing since 2017, and I've told you, Greeny, about this. I don't know if I've talked to you about this, Paul. It's a game called No Man's Sky.
Yes.
And
I was going to ask if you were talking about that.
Okay.
Because the whole community turned their back on that game for a while.
Absolutely tore it apart. And it
had so much potential. The marketing behind that game made it seem like it was going to be the most epic thing since Skyrim, right? And for folks that don't know the game, the premise is open world, procedurally generated space exploration where you can build ships and build all sorts of custom things, and it seemed so interesting with so much to explore. And that's the premise we were given, and the product we were delivered was completely different.
Devoid of most of the features that were sort of teased in all the trailers, exotic worlds with giant, huge creatures that are, nothing is ever going to, no two planets are the same. And it came out and it was like, I think I still have the launch day copy, the physical PS4 copy on disc that runs in my PS5 every time I play that game. I've got like 800 hours into this game because it's actually a success story. Okay, this is one where they had this terrible launch. They had gamers, just the gaming community was absolutely tearing this thing apart. But they have, over the years, over 7 years, they have added to this game, and it's become what I think is one of the greatest science fiction games that you can play. All those features and more are available now. But at the time, it was a game that you paid $70 for, and it was seriously lacking in features. And that's something that has, I don't know if that particular game sort of gave companies the green light to go, right. Hey, this can work now, so don't worry about putting all this money into beta testing. People are going to pay all kinds of money for Cyberpunk or the new Star Wars game that just came out. Star Wars Outlaws. You've been playing that game.
I've been playing, and I will say, and we talked about it a little bit on Joe's podcast, the podcast with Joe. No, it's Joe's podcast. He owned it. We talked about Outlaws a little bit, and I've talked to him since about it, and he did buy the game, and he's playing it. It was buggy as when it came out. It just like you couldn't. I still to this day can't complete a certain mission, get a treasure because it's just bugged out. Like,
is this the PC copy? Do you think it's any better on the?
No, this is Xbox.
Xbox. Okay.
And I think the way they port games now, that I suspect they make one version and they just port it out to different systems now. They've got that stuff wired, I think. But I will say that this makes me think of Star Wars Galaxies. Do either of you remember that game?
I do not.
I don't, no.
So this is nerding out a bit because I was living on Sheridan, which means it was before I moved on Gladman next door to you and your family, Paul.
So this would have been 20 years ago.
Yeah. So you had to you get an invite code to get the beta version of Star Wars Galaxies. And it came, it was you had to sign up and win a lottery. I think they wanted plenty of users because it was a massive online type of deal. I think there's cobwebs here, guys. So keep in mind, I might be getting some of this wrong.
You can tell me anything, and I'm going to believe it. I don't think I played it.
We're doing this all without even looking at our phones, so
Right,
I think we've got some leeway here.
No fact checking.
Yeah.
So, but the game was it was one of the first like getting into the Star Wars universe, like in general, like. Most of the Star Wars games before that were Empire Strikes Back or Jedi Force Unleashed, and you were like a certain character. This was, you're going to be everywhere. You're going to be on Tatooine. You're going to meet, like, and you could pick your character and your race and your homeland and your backstory. The game came out in such a way, in the beta, which we got in. I think Kristen even got in on it too. We signed us both up. And, I mean, you could pick, you could be a Greedo. You could be a hammerhead guy. You could be, whatever. It was, and you weren't heroes, right? And that was a big thing about
Klingon.
You could be. Wait, what? But then it was beta, so it was buggy. It was junky, and they kept doing, what do you call it? Where they would refresh the whole game.
Seasons or whatever.
No, you would like lose all of your progress and everything, and they would kind of basically reboot the game. And so you were playing this free game. You were playing it free, and you were actually beta testing. But it was done in a way that you didn't have to pay for. So someone figured out that, hey, people will pay money to do this.
I think one of the things that one thought I've got that I'm being mic checked here. Is that better?
Yeah, that's
The
better.
sound guy in me just was
point
like,
the microphone at the face. It's episode 15. I should have figured this out by now. One of the things that I sort of think complements that idea is this notion of false scarcity.
yes.
And it used to be there was genuine scarcity. There was a certain number of physical copies. You had to line up to go get it. There was a release. People were excited about that release because they could get their hands on something tangible and they owned it. And it had to be finished because you didn't have the bandwidth to download all these updates. Now on day one, it's a download. There's a patch. There's zero scarcity, and yet we still have the audacity to pre-order these things.
Yep.
And this is something I think needs to go away in gaming in general. If there's digital distribution, and let me rabbit trail, if I may.
Please
Do it.
But one, if there's digital distribution, you shouldn't pre-order anything. Buy it the day that you buy it, because you're going to download it. But don't give them your money until.
I will say they get you there, because if you pre-order it, we got to download. There's an Indiana Jones game that came out. You got to download it ahead of time, and then when it launched,
You got some free game skins or some crap like that.
I'm sure there's that too. But also, when it launched, you already you didn't have to wait for it to download, which nowadays is like
It preloads
20
on.
minutes.
It preloads onto your console or your PC or whatever.
Yeah. So you the advantage to pre-ordering is that like you could download a bulk of the game, and then all they have to do is a quick update, and then you're ready to go. But that really, I think nowadays that saves you 20 minutes. So I'm not sure if it matters.
I don't know that's.
Here's my money.
Maybe there's a slight advantage there.
Well, anyway, look, gaming companies have no. There's no motivation for them to stop doing this type of thing.
Yeah.
And this is just a gripe that I have, because I'm like, well, okay, you can keep going this path, and you can keep. I'm sure it's a money saving thing. You don't have to pay gaming testers. The whole concept of game testers, people that you're paying to try to break the game. You don't need those people anymore, right? You can send it out into the world and say, here you go, folks, break the game. But the casualties of that system are, you might have really good gaming concepts that people just go, I'm not doing this, it's buggy. And, then of course, depending on what your tolerance is for online trolls talking about how much a game that you really wanted to like sucks,
The bad press, I don't see how people come back from that, because when did No Man's Sky come out? 2017?
2017.
So I had that in my basket. Like, I was ready to buy the game, and the bad press kept me from doing it. I think it's still probably on my Steam wish list or something like that. But in my mind, because of the bad press, that's no longer a AAA title.
Yeah.
Now, instead of being a game that might be worth $50, $60, I'm waiting for it to be a $14 Steam sale, and then I might pick it up.
Yeah.
But I have lost all excitement over what it could be based on what it was initially. And it may have been patched to the place where it is what it was promised to be.
Yeah.
But what it was promised to be in 2017 is still 7-year-old difference in what it could have been.
Right. I would recommend it to this day. It's the last game that I pre-ordered. That was
wow.
That was the last time. I said after that I was like, no, I'm not doing that anymore.
We did something interesting with Outlaws. We pre-ordered it and had it, and it was all ready, and then we got super busy and then didn't play it for 2 months.
Oof.
And then got into it, and most of the bugs were fixed. So that wasn't by design, but we kind of lucked into it.
Do you notice as a gamer, either one of you, that being an adult and having adult responsibilities and having families, nowadays there seems to be sort of a back catalog of things that you intended to play, purchased or got for free through Amazon or whatever, and haven't gotten to?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
There are games we played 4 hours and then done.
Yep.
And it wasn't bad. Like Harry Potter, we played a Harry Potter game on the Xbox, and then it just something new came out. It was shiny. We went for that.
Got distracted.
We'll
never
never
got
go
back to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I guess there is certain math that we do when we think about entertainment dollars per hour of enjoyment. If I go to see a movie now, what do you pay for a movie these days? $14 a ticket? Does that sound about right?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. We don't. Post-COVID, I think we've maybe been to 2 movies, and we go to the theater in Georgetown, which is, it's a smaller theater. We're not paying anything near what like the major theater companies. So yeah,
I've got 3 kids, so that's 5 tickets. So let's say it's $10 a ticket. That's a $50 hour and a half for my family. Well, for $50, I can buy Mario Party for the Nintendo Switch and get 100 hours.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't people embrace this over other forms of entertainment or media? Or think about a trip to do you have kids?
I have 1. Yeah.
How old's your kid?
She's 17. She's a senior, so we're close to being out the door with that. But
empty nest.
Yeah, it's pretty close. But
okay.
But we've been through all the cycles. I know you've got younger kids, so we've been through all those cycles. I know what you're talking about. It's like, do I need to go to this? Do I need to spend this money on this entertainment, or can I wait until we can just make popcorn at home and watch it on the couch?
Because even let's go to Main Event on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Well, Main Event on a Friday night is going to cost you $75, $80.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
And
easy.
you're not going to leave feeling very satisfied. I found a hack on that one too with small kids. You go on a Monday. It's $12.99 all they can play.
I've heard that.
They can't play the games where they can win prizes, but then you just go to the Dollar Tree, give them $5, and they feel rich.
They get the same stuff.
Yeah.
Same stuff, just a slightly different delivery mechanism.
We've used that same calculus to say, like, gosh, this game is $79. Like the brand new game, $79. But you get like the great starter pack armor and the whatever the thing, and we're like $80. I mean, we go to dinner, and you'll spend $80.
Yeah,
and yet if we buy this game and we like it, and we're play it for hours. Chris and I are really good at. There's some games we just really play. Elden Ring. We talked about the Star Wars ones with Joe. Both of those, and then there are games that are duds that we don't play very much. But I think it kind of washes out to where an $80 game now is normal.
Yeah.
Like,
while I don't want to encourage the price to go up, I don't disagree with the logic. I started a rabbit trail. I couldn't remember where I was going, but I have remembered now. This is the other thing that really annoys me about modern gaming in general, and that is the concept of ownership. You talk about $80 game.
yeah,
What you're actually talking about is $80 to have access to a game, but a lot of these things now are server locked or online exclusively, and you purchase the right to be able to play it. But as soon as the publisher decides they no longer want to maintain the game, you may not have the option to even install it because you might have the physical copy of No Man's Sky or whatever. But if you can't get that online activation component, there's no way that you're going to be able to install that.
Yep.
And with operating systems not supporting previous generations of software, you maybe one computer update or one hard drive reinstall away from never being able to play the thing that you thought you owned.
iOS has a thing where you can unload an app, right? And one of the messages you get, like, hey, we're going to unload this app, and if you download it again, you know, all your settings will be saved, your progress and whatever, you're fine, unless the app is removed from the App Store.
Yeah.
So that you know, you could pay, you know, I don't know why people would pay $100 for an app or anything, but you could pay money for an app on the iOS, and if you offload it
from you,
it's gone forever.
I've had that happen to me before.
You have? Okay.
Paid $100 for an app that was used to control DMX lighting for my production company. Paid $100 for this app. Owned it right there, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It was on version 3. Version 4 came out with some quote-unquote new features, but they went to a subscription service.
That's the worst.
And so now my $100 app that I own, they said, hey, you know, you can use version 3 as long as you want to without the subscription. But if you don't get the subscription, there were some features that were included in that were in uploading. We have what's called scenes when we're talking about DMX lighting. You could upload your saves to the cloud and save them that way. That was a feature that was in 3.0. It went to version 4.0 and became part of the subscription service. So now that $100 app that I paid for, they just decided, actually, here's the deal. You're going to have to pay us $10 a month for that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I got a small taste of that with
yeah.
the Weather Channel app.
Oh,
I only paid, I think I paid $4, $5 for this app.
right.
Bought it outright and then got a message within the app, we're discontinuing our app.
Yeah.
And so I went from an ad-free experience to one with ads. And then conveniently, just a few weeks later, hey, we're launching a new professional app, but it's a subscription-based model.
Yeah.
So all the things that I had paid for, the not having to see a ridiculous amount of ads or whatever, became a subscription model. Adobe did that. It used to be you could buy the Creative Suite or you could subscribe to the Creative Cloud, and you had the option. And then they just did away with it. Now it's all cloud-based. You have to participate in a subscription model.
Yeah.
And they can up the price anytime they want. But there's one other thing that you touched on that this grinds my gears. This should have been a whole episode right here.
Yeah.
Anytime they can just remove core functionality and you just have to kind of eat the crap sandwich.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a DVD authoring software that they made where Adobe decided they didn't want to pay Dolby for the Dolby license for the surround sound. So they just stopped paying. And if you bought the physical copy, the one you bought, not the subscription, you were given a message that said you may be breaking the law if you continue to use this because this is no longer licensed.
Wow.
They stopped making it available within the Creative Cloud or the Creative Suite, but you can have it on disc and think you own it, and you still don't own it.
Yeah, I don't know how that. I don't know how that how that remains legal. Like, I don't know. You know, of course we've got all the end user license agreements and all that stuff that companies can point back to and go, oh, this is actually what you agreed to. But, this something similar. Well, not really similar, but like there was a game that came out a few months ago that was supposed to be an online shooter. It was released as like probably not a AAA title, but it was a $50 game, and within like a few months they shut down the servers, and you could not play it online anymore. And everybody's like,
"Yeah,
I just paid $50 for this thing.
Yeah,
you're telling me I can't play this game? Like, what's happening here?" But that's the kind of thing that's a big problem, not just in video games. It's a problem in the software community too. Everything going cloud based. Yes, there's all kinds of convenience to that, but there's some that's something that grinds me. I remember I had a physical version of Lightroom, of Adobe Lightroom, that will not work anymore because
you can't install it on current OS.
Yeah,
and there's no activation mechanism even if you could.
Got a new computer, can't use it anymore.
So and if you're a Mac user, it's especially bad because you update the OS X or I guess it's Mac OS now.
Yeah,
it can fundamentally break a lot of the software on your computer, and you just have to buy the new copy.
Yeah.
So I had a company called Pin 3 with my buddy Kenny, who better be listening to this podcast, by the way.
Shout out Kenny.
Yeah.
What's up, Kenny?
And so one of the things we started with was and you guys remember that the garage door opener. We built an app that you could use to open and close your garage door, or check to see if your garage door is open or closed. And this was nobody was doing this back then.
Yeah,
this
was 20 years ago.
Yeah,
This was Greeny here had the earliest version of some of the smart home stuff that we have available to us, like on the regular today.
Yeah,
this guy was coming up with it first, and
lights. I could control lights from a console.
Yeah,
you were doing
app.
this all with like breadboards, weren't you?
Oh yeah, and so this does tie in nerdily to we bought something called the I/O bridge, and it was this device you plug into the internet, and then you had all these pins on it that you could basically hook up to garage doors or sensors or lights, speakers. We even had it hook up to relays to turn on speakers on and off. And we were like, what happens if the servers, the I/O bridge servers, go down? Like, can we not use our product? So we were actually gonna build a product and assume I/O bridge was gonna stay in business. Here was the difference. This kind of seems totally symmetrical. Just like the conversation about the beta testers, I/O bridge promised that if they ever go out of business, they will release all of their code for their servers, and anyone else could just
spin up their own,
and make it open source and whatever. And I don't know that it actually happened. We actually built this whole system for UK's something out at Coldstream, where they had a greenhouse, and we put sensors and all these things for my father-in-law that was out there, where they could check the status of some equipment remotely. And again, this was way before you could do it
with any
easily.
old off the shelf whatever. Yeah.
This is like iKit and what's the Apple's their services and things like that.
IFTTT stuff.
IFTTT.
Yeah.
So we built all this stuff, and then the guy called me like 10 years later and was like, hey, this doesn't work anymore. I was like, yeah, I/O bridge is down, so you'd have to spin up your own server. But it was wild.
I can think of two more notable examples on the gaming. If you ever owned a physical copy of Battlefield,
Star Wars Battlefield?
Battlefield.
Battlefield, like
Battlefield
1942 or
old
2142.
or the old Battlefield. You can't install them anymore.
Yeah.
You can have a physical copy, and if you're a thrift store guy, you'll see Battlefield on the shelves, and you just have to laugh because you can buy the physical copy and can't do anything with it. And then Overwatch is the other one, the original Overwatch.
Yeah.
You can have a physical disc for your Xbox. You can have the actual copy for your PC, and it doesn't do anything because everything is web-based.
Yeah.
So there it is. We don't own anything, and we should be happy for it.
We're just renting time for excitement. I don't know.
Isn't that sort of a metaphor for life?
Yeah, it feels like it is.
That's what you call in the. You can bleep those out.
We probably will.
People will figure it out.
Okay, well, Horsey, thanks for joining us. We're talking about video games. It was fun.
Fun to do it again.
Yeah.
Anytime,
we'll have to have you
fellas.
back.
Yeah.
Now we know how to do it in the basement. We'll do it again.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks for listening to the Soapbox. Eric, how can people find us?
Well, conveniently, we put everything on our Linktree site. You can go to Linktree, search SoapBox Lex, and you'll find all of our socials there, plus ways to reach us, ways to engage, and some of our original content, so you can see some of the other stuff that we do.